this one goes out as a shout out as a result of a request from WTVG1, a Florida-based YouTuber who is, for the most part, affiliated with, I guess, news stations, or at least follows news stations down in Florida, who wanted to ask me about news stations and news talk stations, the advantages and disadvantages of those. So thanks to WTVG1 for sending me that video request. And if you have one about anything, not just in the sports line or the radio line or anything else like that, you can send me anything. You can send me any type of request that you want. Is there something out there, not just with those two particular genres, but with anything out there that you feel that you want to get my take on, and want to see if I can get if I can talk about it on YouTube or maybe even on my Twitter account, then go right ahead. So what's good on the internet? What's good in life? I'm at Life495. So he sent me this video, wanted me to ask him, wanted me to give him his thoughts on all news radio versus news talk radio, which I like all news radio. I think it's it can be somewhat of a it can be somewhat of a break, because the majority of AM news stations aren't really AM news stations. They're actually either liberal talkers or conservative talkers. That kind of stuff can be a little bit deceiving, if you know what I mean. After a period of time, you sort of get you can sort of get tired, at times, just hearing the news pointed out from one particular point of view, as opposed to just calling it right down the middle and just reporting the news as it seems, and not giving, not trying to give any BS on it. But hey, all people have political leanings. I'd be lying to you if I say I didn't. So, but you know what? Even with that, it is refreshing to see, just the news just reported, as it happens, and I think that's a big advantage of all news radio. There aren't too many all news stations out there, but even though you have some radio sites saying that they are indeed making a comeback, obviously you have all news outlets in New York. I believe they have two, CBS 880 as well as 1010 Wins. Of course, you have those. Both of those are CBS properties. LA has one, I believe it's KNX 1070 News Radio, another CBS property, and I believe that KFWB also used to be an all-news station at 980 before they tried to transition themselves into being a news talk outlet. Now you wonder why they're about to get sold and probably become a Spanish station. I think that they should become a Spanish all-news station just for LA. You have Chicago, you have WBBM 780, you have Philly and KYW 1060, you have KDKA. I don't know if KDKA is news or news talk. Maybe they're a hybrid of the two, but you have them at 1020 in Pittsburgh. What are some other all-news stations? Oh, of course, you have WTOP 103.5, 103.9 in Washington, D.C. Of course you need an all-news station in Washington, D.C. It's Washington, D.C. So, something is wrong if they don't have one. But they have a news talk station over at WTOP, and I think it's the #1 rated station in all of D.C. So, it works. And notice how a lot of how I've pointed out, all news stations, they can be a little bit, all stations run on a budget. But the thing about all news stations as opposed to news talk stations is that, sometimes it can cost a lot. Sometimes a lot of these big name talks, some of these big name talkers like Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, and who are some of the others? Michael Medved, or Michael Smerconish, or Neil Bortz, or Dr. Laura, or Laura Ingram, or something like that. Those folks are expensive. Those folks can be expensive because they're heard nationally, they're heard on the internet and all types of stuff. So they all run on a budget, but it can be in some cases a little bit more expensive to run an all news station because it's all local. So everything you don't have to, everything that's on a news talk station can be satellite fed, as opposed to on a more news-centric station. Oh, I forgot to mention another station, KRLD 1080 in Dallas. They recently went from news talk to all news, and I gave them props for that in an earlier video that I believe I made last year. But But I think that that's part of the thing about all news stations, is that they are all local. They have, for the most part, local personalities, local things. And also another thing, I think, and this could be a disadvantage as well as an advantage, the ownership of radio. Who owns most of the big radio stations? Who are the big wigs in radio? You got Clear Channel, you got Cumulus, you got Cox, and Cox owns a few TV stations. You got, who else owns a few? Citadel, about to become Cumulus. There's also Salem, and there's also CBS. Wait, did I just mention CBS? One of the major news organizations in the United States of America, and by the way, in the world. That gives you a reason why CBS has a lot of all news stations on either AM or FM, which, by the way, San Francisco, another one I forgot to mention, KCBS at 740 as well as at 106.9. They are another all-news outlet that recently migrated over to 106.9. When 106.9 changed over from, I believe it was Classic Hits, over to a simulcast of KCBS 740, I think that's on formatchange.com. But CBS has an advantage over everybody else, because what they do is that they will interconnect their news operations, which in many of these cities where they own stations, where they own all news stations, they will interrelate that, and they will interconnect and do promotional stuff with a lot of their TV stations, like CBS in New York. Like 1010 Wins does a lot of stuff with CBS 2 in New York. The same thing with San Francisco. They do, KCBS does a lot of stuff with their San Francisco TV affiliate for CBS. Same with LA, same with Dallas, same with Chicago, same with Pittsburgh and Philly and wherever else they own talk stations. The only exception to the rule seems to be DC, where that news outlet is owned by Bonneville, WTOP. So that's my analysis, at least somewhat, of all news stations. Again, thank you, WTVG, for that and for your aficionado status of news. And if you have something that you want me to talk about or put in a video, hey, I'm like TRL right now. I'm the TRL of YouTube, or maybe the poor version. So rate, comment, react, reply as always. Thanks for the request. I think that there are advantages and disadvantages. I think it's another thing that I think it is that it's good, especially for for going into work and stuff like that. I think it does well. It would do very well in drive time for those that can't have to get to the office and can't necessarily, because there's no TVs in the car. That's why I think all news stations would definitely help, because it would be a continuous loop of just the news, not some bull crap coming from either side. Pa! Pa! So until next time, I am Long Island 495, and also I think that they can be a little bit expensive to run because of all the local focus, and you're not pushing in, you're not just beaming in stuff from the satellite feeds. But hey, you got to do what you got to do to stay local. So until next time, LI 495. Let me try this again, and I will see you on the internet someplace. Yeah, I got it right that time. So what you think? Hit me back.